My name is Michael Johnson. I'm 68 years old, and for 47 of them, I carried the guilt of letting my best friend die. Vietnam, 1971. I was 21 years old from Tennessee, and Jesse Carter was my brother in arms. Not by blood, but one of those forged in fire by war. Jesse was from Louisiana, 3 years older than me, and had a smile that lit up even the darkest days in that damn jungle. We were from the 1st Cavalry Division, Charlie Company Platoon. Jesse was my foxhole buddy, the guy who shared his last chocolate bar, who held me when the nightmares came, even while awake. He had a little daughter back home, Sarah. He showed her picture every day, worn from touching it so much. When I get back, Michael, I'm going to teach her to fish. I'm going to be the best dad that ever lived. The mission was simple on paper. Reconnaissance of a village suspected of harboring Viet Cong. Nothing is simple in Vietnam. We entered the jungle at Ors 600. The heat was suffocating. The humidity stuck to our skin like a second layer. Jesse was ahead of me checking for traps, always careful, always alert. At 14:30, everything exploded. The ambush came from all sides. Shots, grenades, screams. Sergeant Williams took a bullet in the first burst. Jimmy Fast Morrison fell right after. The jungle transformed into a green hell tinged with red. "Fall back! Fall back!" Lieutenant Harris shouted. We ran. God, how we ran! But Jesse tripped on a root. I saw him fall. I saw the blood on his leg. I saw his eyes find mine. "Michael!" he screamed. I took 3 steps toward him, 3 steps. Then an explosion threw me against a tree. When I got up, dizzy, bleeding from my head, Corporal Rodriguez was pulling me. "He's there! Jesse's there!" I yelled. "He's gone, Johnson. We gotta get out." "No, I can't leave him." But Rodriguez was strong. He dragged me. I heard the shots getting louder, closer to where Jesse was. I heard a scream that haunts me to this day. We made it to the extraction point. Of the 23 men who entered that jungle, 11 came out. Jesse Carter wasn't among them. The rescue mission the next day found 5 bodies. Jesse's wasn't there. "Missing in action," they said. But I knew. Nobody survived that hell. Nobody. I came home in 1972. I received a Bronze Star for bravery. Bravery? What a cruel joke. I let my brother die, and they gave me a medal. I couldn't go to Jesse's symbolic funeral. I couldn't face his family, his widow Linda, little Sarah, who would never know her father. I sent a letter. Pathetic. Empty. The years passed like heavy clouds. I married Dorothy in 1975. We had 2 children, Michael Jr. and Denise. I worked on the railroad for 32 years. I was a good husband, a good father, a good citizen. But every night, when I closed my eyes, I was back in that jungle. I saw Jesse falling. I saw his eyes pleading. I saw my cowardice. Dorothy knew. Of course she knew. She held me when I woke up screaming, never complained, never judged me. "You did what you could, Michael. You did what you could." But I didn't. I could have stayed. I could have fought harder. I could have died with him, as brothers should die. I attended veterans groups, therapy, medication. Nothing erased that day. Nothing erased the weight of having lived while Jesse died. I visited the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington 3 times. I touched his name on the wall. Jesse T. Carter, Panel 3W, Line 47. I asked for forgiveness. I cried like I hadn't cried since that day. He didn't answer. How could he? The dead don't answer. March 2018, I received an invitation in the mail. 50th anniversary of the Tet Offensive, 1st Cavalry Division Veterans Reunion, Norfolk, Virginia. "You should go," said Dorothy, reading over my shoulder. "I don't know if I can." "Michael, you're 68 years old. How many chances will you have to see these men again?" She was right. Rodriguez had died of cancer 5 years before. Williams was in a nursing home, barely recognized his own family. Time was running out. I went. The hotel was full of old men in veteran T-shirts, caps with faded insignias, faces marked by more than just age. I saw Billy Thompson, recognized his walk even after 50 years. Tom "Doc" Harrison, our medic, now with a cane, but still with that gentle look. The hugs were tight, the tears abundant. Old stories flowed with the beer. We laughed at things that weren't funny, cried for friends who became names on walls. "Did you hear about Jesse?" Doc Harrison asked me on the second night. My heart stopped. "What about Jesse?" "His story. You never knew what really happened? He died that day, the ambush." Doc looked at me strangely. "Michael, you don't know. After the war in the 90s, there was that MIA recovery operation. Jesse Carter is alive, Michael was. I don't know if he still is, but he was alive in 1995. The world spun. I sat down heavily. That's impossible. I saw him fall. I heard he was captured. Spent years in a prison camp. When he came back in 1995, after the normalization of relations, Michael, he wasn't well. I heard he didn't want contact with anyone from the old platoon. He was broken, alive. Jesse was alive. 47 years of guilt for a death that never happened. I spent the whole night awake. Dorothy on the phone could barely believe it. "You need to find him," she said, simple and direct, as always. But how? Doc didn't have an address, just rumors. I heard he was somewhere in Louisiana, near where he grew up. But Michael, he doesn't want to be found. I think you should respect that." Respect? How could I respect when every day of the last 47 years was a lie I told myself? I started investigating. The internet is a miraculous thing when you have time and determination. Veterans records, lists of repatriated prisoners. I found his name, Jesse Theodore Carter, released in December 1995 after bilateral negotiations. There was a brief report. 5 years in a camp in northern Vietnam. Inhumane conditions, torture, isolation. When he was freed, he weighed 115 pounds. I cried reading that. While I was raising my children, laughing, living, Jesse was suffering in a hell I couldn't imagine. I found a Sarah Carter in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, right age to be his daughter. I sent a letter, then another. Nothing. Finally, I called. "Hello?" A woman's voice, mature. "Sarah Carter? Who wants to know?" "My name is Michael Johnson. I served with your father in Vietnam." Long silence. Then, "Please don't call here again." "Sarah, I just want to... My father doesn't talk about the war, doesn't talk about the time there, doesn't talk about you all. Please respect that. I need to ask his forgiveness. He doesn't want your forgiveness," her voice broke. "He just wants peace. Please, please leave him alone." She hung up. I stood there with the phone in my hand, feeling the last thread of hope break. But Dorothy wouldn't let me give up. "If he won't come to you, you go to him." She asked me to leave him alone. And can you? Can you leave him alone without at least trying? No, I couldn't. I drove 12 hours from Tennessee to Louisiana. Dorothy wanted to come, but I said this was something I needed to do alone. Baton Rouge was hot and humid, reminding me of Vietnam in ways that made me break into a cold sweat. I found the address through public records. A small house in a quiet neighborhood, well-kept lawn, a faded American flag on the porch. I parked across the street. I stayed there for an hour, just looking, gathering courage. Finally, I got out of the car. My legs were shaking. My heart was beating as if I were 20 years old again, entering the jungle. I rang the doorbell. Light footsteps. The door opened. A woman, about 45 years old, gray hair pulled back, tired but kind eyes. "Sarah?" I asked. She recognized me immediately. Her eyes narrowed. "I asked you not to come." "I know. I'm sorry, but I need to see him. Just 5 minutes. Then I'll leave and never come back, I promise." "He won't want—" "Sarah? Who is it?" A voice from inside the house. Deep, hoarse, familiar in ways that made me cry instantly. Sarah sighed, defeated. It's someone from the war, Dad." Heavy footsteps, slower than Sarah's. A cane hitting the wooden floor. And then he appeared behind her. Jesse Carter. But not the Jesse I knew. This Jesse had completely white hair, cropped close. His face was a network of deep wrinkles, old scars. 2 fingers were missing from his left hand. He walked hunched over, as if the weight of decades was too much to bear. But it was the eyes. The eyes were the same. Deep brown, they still had that spark, even under layers of pain. He looked at me. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then, almost imperceptible, "Michael." It wasn't a question. It was a statement. One ghost recognizing another ghost. "Jesse, I'm so sorry, so sorry. I left you, abandoned you. Every day since then, "Come in," he said simply, turning around. Sarah looked shocked. "Dad, you don't have to—" "Come in, Michael," Jesse repeated. The house was simple, clean, photos on the walls, Sarah at various ages, graduation, wedding, grandchildren, fishing trophies, a worn Bible on the coffee table. Jesse sat in a worn armchair. He pointed to the sofa. I sat. Sarah brought coffee, still suspicious, but obeying her father. We sat in silence for a long time. Just 2 old men drinking coffee, carrying old wars. "Did you get married?" Jesse finally asked. "Yes, Dorothy, 43 years, 2 children, 4 grandchildren." He nodded. "That's good. And you?" "Linda died in 2003. Cancer. She waited for me. 9 years without knowing if I was alive. When I came back—" He stopped, looked at her picture on the wall. She tried. God, how she tried. But I was no longer the man she married. "Jesse, you know what's funniest?" He interrupted, a bitter smile. "I don't blame you. Never blamed you." "How can you not blame me? I ran. Left you. You survived. That's what it was for. Rodriguez did the right thing pulling you. One of us had to come back." "But you—" "I suffered, yes. 5 years in a hole in the ground, rotten food, dirty water, torture when they were bored." He raised his mutilated hand. "They lost patience one day. Wanted information I didn't have. Took 2 fingers with a rusty pliers." I felt bile rising. Jesus Christ! "No, he wasn't there," Jesse said with that bitter smile. "Or he was and chose to do nothing. I was never sure." How did you endure it?" Jesse looked at the photo of little Sarah still on the bedside table. "This photo! They let me keep it. I don't know why. Maybe cruelty, maybe accidental mercy. Every day I looked at it and promised I'd come back. that I'd meet my daughter, that I'd be the father I swore to be. And when you came back, she was 24 years old, married, pregnant with her first child, didn't recognize me. How could she? The last time she saw me, she was 3, and I was a strong man, smiling. I came back as this. He gestured to himself. But you reconnected. You're together. It took years. She had patience, more than I deserved. The first years, I drank a lot, woke up screaming, broke things, almost lost her again. What changed? I almost died. Cirrhosis. The doctors told me to get my affairs in order. Sarah was pregnant with her second child, and I thought, I survived that hell to die alone from cheap vodka? After everything? You stopped. I stopped. Every day is a choice. Some days are harder than others. But I look at my grandchildren and it's worth it. The pain is worth it for the joy. We drank coffee. Outside, children were playing. Life went on. Why didn't you look for anyone from the platoon? I finally asked. It would have helped. We wanted to help. Jesse was quiet for a long time. Shame, he finally said. Pure shame. Shame? You were a hero. You survived. I survived by breaking, he said quietly. In the second year, they made me record a tape. Propaganda. Saying the war was wrong, that America was evil. They beat me until I said it. Anyone would have done the same. Maybe, but I did it, and I carried that. Didn't want to see pity in the eyes of men who fought with me. Didn't want to be poor Jesse Carter, look what they did to him. Nobody would think that. No. He looked at me directly. Isn't pity what you feel now? It was. Partially it was, and he knew it. I also feel admiration, I said honestly, and relief. 47 years, Jesse. 47 years I thought you died because of me. I didn't die because of you. I died to myself. The Jesse who entered that jungle died. The one who came back, something else. Something built on top of the ashes. I stayed in Baton Rouge for 3 days. Jesse and I talked. Hours and hours of conversations we should have had decades ago. He told me about the camp, about the guards who had mercy sometimes, leaving extra food, about John McCain, who was in a nearby camp, and how hearing Americans through the walls saved his sanity. About the day he learned the war had ended, but he still remained imprisoned. A piece of political bargaining. I told him about the guilt, about Dorothy, about how I taught my son to fish, thinking it should be Jesse doing that with Sarah, about all the times I almost gave up but couldn't because it would be a greater betrayal. On the 3rd day, Sarah made us a barbecue in the backyard. I met her children, James, 15 years old, and Keisha, 12. Jesse's grandchildren, beautiful, intelligent, full of life. Grandpa served in Vietnam, James said proudly. He did indeed, I said, looking at Jesse. He was the bravest man I ever knew. Jesse shook his head, but I saw tears in the corners of his eyes. That night, on the porch, just the two of us and the cicadas singing, Jesse said something that changed everything. You know why I agreed to see you. I could have sent you away. Why? Because you carried guilt that wasn't yours for almost 5 decades. And I can't carry more weight from others, Michael. I already carry too much. I don't understand. You surviving saved my life. How? In that camp, when everything was darkness, when the pain was too much, I thought about you. I thought, Michael got out. Michael came back. Michael will tell Sarah that her father loved her. Michael will live the life I can't." He turned to me, tears flowing freely now. "You living was my reason to continue, Michael. It was knowing that part of that day survived, that not everything was lost. I cried. We cried together. Two old soldiers finally letting the war go. Forgive yourself, Jesse said. If not for you, for me. You carried my death for too long. It's time to carry my life." I returned to Tennessee different, lighter. Dorothy saw it immediately. "You found him," she said. It wasn't a question. I found him, and he found me too. Jesse and I talk on the phone every week now, sometimes just 5 minutes, sometimes an hour. We talk about fishing, about grandchildren, about back pain and medications, mundane things, things old men talk about, things brothers talk about. Last year, he came to visit us. He met Dorothy, who hugged him as if she'd known him for decades. He met my children, my grandchildren. We went fishing, Jesse, me, Michael Jr., and James, his grandson. Sitting on the riverbank, rods in the water, Jesse said something I carry with me. The war tried to kill us in 1,000 different ways, with bullets, with prison, with guilt, with shame. But look at us, still here, still together. The war didn't win. He was right. I'm 68 years old. Jesse is 71. We don't know how much time we have, but the time we have, we don't spend carrying the dead anymore. We spend living, because that's what I finally understood. Jesse didn't need me to die with him. He needed me to live for him, and I lived. Not perfectly, not without pain, but I lived. And now, finally, I can say, we live together. The war ended over 40 years ago, but for us, it ended that day on the porch in Baton Rouge, when two brothers finally stopped fighting a war that was already over. When we finally came home, Jesse Carter died in June 2023 at 73 years old. He died in his sleep, at peace, surrounded by family. I went to the funeral. I carried the casket with Sarah, her children, her grandchildren. The American flag that covered the casket was handed to her, folded with military precision. At the cemetery, as the honor guard fired the salute, I looked at that flag and finally understood. Jesse didn't die in Vietnam. He lived. He suffered, yes. He carried scars, yes. But he lived, and by living, he saved me. He saved me from guilt, from darkness, from a war I never needed to keep fighting. Today, when I close my eyes, I still see that jungle. I still hear the shots. But now, I also see the porch in Baton Rouge. I hear Jesse's laughter. I feel the firm handshake, even with missing fingers, and I sleep in peace. Because my best friend didn't die. He lived. And by living, he taught me that surviving isn't betrayal. It's honor. It's duty. It's love. It's what we owe to those who didn't come back. It's what we owe ourselves. This story is dedicated to all veterans who carry wars that nobody sees. May your battles find peace. May your wounds find healing. May your brothers and sisters, living or dead, always be remembered. You are not alone. The end.